Welcome in, everybody. Happy to have you here again on a Thursday because you know what it is. It is time for a Thursday night throwdown, one of my favorite nights and things that we do here on the channel. Tonight, we're just getting a couple random bottles that we think are kind of somewhat staples available. You see what we got. Something that I don't talk about a lot. Number one, 1792. This is their small batch whiskey, glass one. 1792, been around for a minute. They do quite a bit of stuff. Rumors have that, this is distilled 1792, is Kirkland, if you're familiar with the Costco brand. So we've got here, this does not give me a mash bill, but it is in Bardstown, 1792, Bardstown, Kentucky. 1792, of course, their name has to do with the year that Kentucky received her statehood. And this is coming in at 93.7 proof. This is Bardstown Bourbon Company, both in Bardstown. This is their Origin Series, Kentucky Straight Bourbon, coming in at 96 proof. This does have this mash bill. It is 60% corn, 36% rye, and 4% malted barley. So a high rye, definitely on this particular variety from Bardstown Bourbon Company. So we're going to give these guys an old spinneroo, see what we can come up with, and just see what we like. Bardstown, sort of newcomers to the game now. Great, phenomenal, modern facility, doing some great stuff. They do, Green River is also, I believe, part of that kind of distillery where they're working out of. 1792, again, a little bit more established. 1792 has their sweet wheat, which I know is a coveted one. They've got a bottled in bond now. They've got their full proofs, which I've got a couple of those over there. And again, they've got those Kirkland varieties that they distill for that brand. Bardstown, doing a lot of, they got a fusion series, they do some finishing casks, lots of unique things as they're trying to kind of, I don't know if revolutionize, but change kind of the overall scope and landscape of what bourbon and whiskey in America can look like. So all of that being said, 1792 small batch should be available on anybody's shelf. I believe Bardstown, their basic, quote unquote, their core line should also be readily available pretty much everywhere. So we'll see. I do not know, again, what 1792, I don't know. This does not give me an age statement. So definitely it's at least 4 years. That's about all we know from it. And then the Bardstown does tell me, as I said earlier, it is, boy, I don't know if that's a 4 or a 6. I don't know where my my thing went. I can't really quite tell. But all right, let's get into it. Start with the nose. For me, this is the classic Kentucky bourbon. It's dusty, it's dry. There's a little bit of citrus zest, subtle sweetness. This smells like classic bourbon to me. This has got a little bit of a sweeter nose to it. Not nearly as dusty. I still pick up a little bit of citrus, but it is a sweeter nose. Okay. Let's get ready. Let's go to the palate. Let's see what we can do. I definitely get some citrus vibes on that guy, but there is a lot more sweetness on the palate than what I was picking up on the nose. It has some of those classic caramel kind of notes with a little bit more of that citrus note pronounced. Doesn't taste as dusty as it smells. Overall, it's a really nice tasting bourbon. Got some legs developing, not a ton, not as much as I would think I would like to see, but there's some decent legs there. Okay, we're going to try this a little different. We're just going to go one sip at a time and try to see what we get. All right, glass number my left. I mean, they're fairly similar. This has got a little bit more of, again, I'm getting some fruit vibe. I'm getting those caramels, those vanillas. This one has a little bit more of that dusty taste. So where this one, the nose carried the dusty note with hints of citrus, not a lot of sweetness, but then the palate gave me no dustiness, but sweetness and a little bit more pronounced citrus. This one is almost just the opposite. Gave me a sweeter nose, hardly any dustiness at all, but the palate gives me a little bit of that dusty. And for me, dusty, there is kind of a taste and smell with that. It may not necessarily equate to age, but it's that barrel essence, barrel dust, dustiness, that kind of a thing is how I talk about dustiness. It does carry through with sweetness as well. Maybe, I'm going to try again, a hint more mouthfeel on this guy. Well, let's see. Let's go back in and see what we got. We're going to go reverse order. So we're going to do this one again. A little bit of honey. Definitely get those caramel notes. Some vanillas in there. I mean, it's classic. This is classic bourbon, right? And some citrus. I mean, that's kind of what I get. Holding true to form there. All right, go back in for this guy one more time. What's interesting is because I know the mash bills. Well, I don't know the mash bill on 1792. I know the mash bill on the Bardstown because we just read it. 36% rye is a pretty high rye content. And I would expect there to be a much more distinguishable rye character out of one of these. And I'm not getting it. These are classic bourbons. When I think of a high rye bourbon, which this would definitely qualify as a high rye bourbon, when I think of, Four Roses or Old Grandad or even Basil Hayden, you get much more of those baking spices in there. And I'm not getting a ton of baking spice on either one of these. With that high of rye count, that's kind of surprising. Both of these fit a classic bourbon, which typically would be a lower rye content than what's in this one. Again, little citrus, little vanilla, little caramel, classic. So I'm not sure. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back in and we're going to pick which one we like the best. Maybe some rye in this guy. Maybe. Okay, time to make a decision. They're not as far off as maybe thought they might be. Historically, I do like what Bardstown's doing, and what I've had from Bardstown, I do enjoy a lot. I like Bardstown. I like 1792, but it's not usually one that I reach for. They're just not typically one that I reach for. So the fact that these two are so close, not just in my head-to-head here, but also literally in what I feel like their profile is interesting, which also just goes to prove the point that we never write off a whiskey, because our palates do change, our tastes change, and sometimes going back to a bottle that we weren't maybe the most fond of is always a good thing to revisit, because all of a sudden it may have opened up to our palate, or our palates changed and we're like, oh, this is really nice. And sometimes I go to whiskeys that I'm like, oh man, this is so great. This was such a great pour. And I'll taste it again, whatever, months down the road. And I'm like, not that it was bad, but I'm like, oh, this isn't quite what I remember. It's all part of the process. That's why we continue just to taste and drink our whiskey and enjoy it throughout the years. All right, enough talk. Let's do this. One more quick sip. We make a decision on what I like today. They really are so close. But I think I'm gonna go with this one. They are so similar. I actually really like the nose of this one. I like that dustiness on the nose. Again, I get citrus on both in varying degrees, and I get a little bit of sweetness on both in varying degrees. This one had a more dusty nose. Now, when it comes to palate, I got citrus on both, a little bit more on this one, a little bit sweeter on this one than those sugars here. But I got more of that dusty note on my palate, which I appreciate. So I'm going to go with this one. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. I thought because of the high rye, I would be able to kind of detect which is which. Don't know. So we're going to experience this together. The winner in tonight's Throwdown is, it is Bardstown. Interesting, because this does not give me, I already said the rye does not seem prominent. On my third sip back and forth, I thought maybe this one was giving me a little bit of some baking spice, but not enough to convince me or whatever. But at the end of the day, this one just hit the palate a touch more. A little bit more mouthfeel, a little bit more dusty, barrel woody kind of note on the palate, and then still had that classic bourbon, vanilla, caramel, little citrus kind of note. This had those. This was just a little bit more pronounced, a little bit more mouthfeel with those elements. So that's the winner tonight. Take that for what it's worth. Let me know if I probably have had this one. Let me know if you've had this one. Let me know which one you like the best. And as always, folks, drop us a comment, leave us a note. Let us know if there's something you'd like us to do in a throwdown or anything else. We'd love to hear from you guys. Appreciate your time and paying attention for this long. If you've stuck around, if you haven't already, give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, comment, all the fun stuff. Love you guys. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you next time. Cheers.